Hey, and welcome to the Joie Miller podcast. I'm Pastor Joie Miller, and I'm excited to jump into a topic that I'm passionate about today. And that topic is intentional living. It's creating moments rather than managing our minutes. And I'm all about managing the minutes, I'm all about time management. But the reason that we live our lives isn't just to cram more things into our schedule. The reason we live our lives is to create moments with the people that we love, that we create a life that we love. And when that happens one moment at a time. I love this quote. It says, "Life isn't built in the big milestones alone. It's shaped by the small intentional moments we choose to create, notice, and remember." And so this episode that we're going to be diving into is about creating those moments, why we should create the moments, and how you don't really have to have extra anything to start today. You don't have to have extra money. You don't have to have extra time. You can maximize the moments of your life starting today. So the question is, are you managing your minutes, or are you maximizing the moments that God has given you? And I think about life, I think about the moments in life, I think about even like the year in review. If you're like me, I took some time at the end of the year to go back and look at everything that happened in the past year in my picture, in my photo album. And I thought about not just like the events that happened. We had a lot of big events this past year, but about the moments. It was, how did I feel in the moment? What was happening in my life in that moment? And how that should be really the standard of how we remember our lives. The benchmark of our lives should be the moments that we create. And let me say this, I'm already an overthinker. So a person like me can take a message like this and get an extreme bondage over it. I'd be like, oh my gosh, how many moments did I create today? Am I doing this wrong? No, just relax and just let's talk about creating moments that matter in our lives. Okay, so when we live by minutes, this is what happens. We are looking at our ability to produce rather than feeling connected in the life that we live. We're more worried about the production of our life than how we're feeling in our lives and what we're producing in relationships, in our inner self. And so, our calendars are good, our schedules are amazing, but they should all be led by the compass of who we are, what God's doing in us, and what we're becoming. And honestly, are we creating a life that we love along the way? There's been years in my life where I was just like hurrying through and trying to get to some false finish line. And I think about like all of the moments that I might have missed in that season because I was just trying to get to the next thing, trying to rush through. And so if you're living your life and sometimes you find yourself like at the end of the day feeling exhausted and not really knowing why, feeling like you were present but you didn't really have any true connections, then this podcast is going to be perfect for you today. And so let's remember this. You can be completely efficient in your schedule, in your timing, and still feel like you're missing the connections that life have to offer for you. So it's not just about maximizing our time, creating capacity. All those things are great, but what is the why behind it? What is it for? So it's not about how much more you could squeeze in, how much more you could do. It's about the moments that you're creating along the way. So I want you to hear the three target questions that intentional living asks us in our lives. One is, what matters most? What's the what in your life that matters most? If you were going to define success, what is that? So what matters most in your life? Number two is, who do I want to be present with? Who do I want to get the best of me this year? Who do I want to be all in with? It's a frustrating feeling to feel like you are taking care of, maybe you're a stay-at-home mom and you're taking care of your family all day, but you haven't had a real connection. When I was raising my kids and they were small, I remember a quote that I heard, and they said this: just spend 15 minutes of connection with your kids a day. If you do that, you're going to be spending more than the majority of people in the world. Now, of course, we all want more than 15 minutes of connection, but I think if we were honest with ourselves in the life that we live, 15 minutes would be a win. 15 minutes of conversation, 15 minutes of, hey, let's drop everything and play a quick game of Uno, 15 minutes of, hey, like, take a second and tell me, like, what's God speaking to you in this season of your life? 15 15 minutes investing in the who that you want to be present with. A lot of us can be present on social media, like whether we want to define it this way or not. A hard truth is we're present with the influencers that we follow more than the people that are around our table. So answer the question of who. So what and who. And the last one is how. How do I want this season to feel? Well, when you're looking back through your photo album of this year, how do you want this season of your life to feel? Do you want to go back and relive moments that you were connecting, or do you want to say, wow, like I feel like that season was just rushed through. I feel like I could have shown up better in that season. One of the biggest pet peeves I have is to look back on a season of my life with regret, because when it comes to regret, like I have a say in that. I have a say on how I live my seasons. I don't have a control on what happens in that season, how other people respond to that season, but I have control on how much I choose to maximize any given season. And one of my biggest pet peeves is to look back on a season and think, wow, like I have regret on that season. I could have shown up more. I could have been present more. And time is a great teacher. You can learn great lessons through times and seasons. When you're in a season, a lot of times we think that season is just going to always be. It's never going to change. And so we can actually get comfortable or even hurry through that season. But the more seasons that you live in life, the more you realize that things do not stay the same for long. Sometimes seasons are longer, sometimes they're shorter. But one thing you can guarantee is that seasons will always change. And you don't realize that in the moment. But when you can look back with perspective, you say, okay, I want to maximize the moments of this season of my life. Right now we have a house it's dwindling, of teenagers. We have 2 teenagers, we have 1 college age student that's at home, and we have 2 married kids. And so, I look at this season of my life as something that I want to maximize because I know it won't last forever. The temptation is once your kids hit a certain age or stage that now they're self-sufficient. Like I've reached the parenting goal. Now I can do what I want. They're teenagers. I don't have to make them dinner. That's one mentality we can take. But if we're going to be intentional about the season, I know this season is going to be short-lived. Pretty soon, they're all going to be out on their own. I'm going to be at home with all of the time in the world that I want for myself. And so I've chosen to create intentional moments, even in this season where it would be easy to say, okay, you know what, I've made it, I've arrived, everyone man for themselves, find your own dinner. I'm stewarding this season in a way that I want to invest in this season. And that's the beautiful thing is you get to define what's important to you in this season. You get to answer these questions for yourself. But I want you to remember this, that oftentimes busyness can be a thief of intentionality. So we can get so busy doing things that it becomes a thief of the things that we want to be most intentional about or with. My mother was amazing at cleaning a house. She would whip a house in shape like nobody's business. It would be a Saturday. She worked Monday through Friday during the week. And I remember on Saturday morning, she would be up like reorganizing the canned goods in our kitchen. And I love that. Like I learned so many lessons about her hard work and housekeeping. But I remember as a child being like, wow, like I wish, like, can we just go do something fun on this Saturday? Does it have to be a time where we're focused on like the busyness of the things, that the cares of life, and we should be good stewards, and that's why we time manage, that's why we time block, to create capacity for the things that matter. But in saying this, be careful of what you're spending your time towards, because there will always be a pull for the busy work of life, even the pull for good things. But we have to say, are those good things falling under the umbrella of things that are important to me in this season? Because moments are greater than minutes. There is new merch waiting for you at the Joie Miller website. Go to joiemiller.co. You can find all of your planner accessories that will encourage you as you're getting organized. Check it out today. All right, so let's ask ourselves the next questions. What are we spending our moments on? Moments are where life is lived and life is created. And here's the thing, they're not accidental. Your moments are chosen by you. So I want you to reframe your thinking when it comes to creating moments with the people who you love most, or even like the moments in your life that you choose to fully engage in. A life of joy is a life where you're fully present, you're fully engaged. And that sounds so simple, but in the world that we're living in now, you have to fight to be present in the moment. You have to fight to stay in a place of joy and peace and fully engaged, because there's so many things pulling for our constant attention. So the reframing is moments don't require more of anything. Remember, we said just more of your presence, deciding to be more present in the moment. Moments look like eye contact instead of multitasking. We're all guilty of it. Your kid wants to finally have a conversation with you. Your husband finally wants to tell you about his day, and we're tempted to be scrolling. Yeah, really. Yeah, that's amazing. No, say, I'm going to create a moment. I'm going to maximize my moment. What am I saying? I'm going to be fully engaged in my moment by putting away what I'm doing and being completely present through eye contact with the person who's talking to me. Creating moments is listening, truly listening and processing before you have come up with your response. I am so guilty of this. You would not believe it. I'm like a fast-paced person. If I could live life on like 2 times speed, like you can do on an audiobook or a podcast, that's how I would live life. Like even sitting in a meeting, like, all right, let's get on with it. I got it. Let's go. And I'm not being in the moment. And so I've really tried to fully engage in listening before I come up with a response. When you're listening, you're creating empathy, you're creating true connection with the person that you're in the room with. And that could be your 2-year-old, that could be your 20-year-old, that could be your spouse, that could be a parent who's going through, a hard season. I remember being in a season where I was taking care of my elderly father. And so many times I would want to like rush through, like, let's make a decision. Let's get your grocery list. And my husband was so kind of remind me, like, he is like feeling things right now. He's giving up his independence. Like, be present not only in getting the checklist done, but in the empathy, creating moments where you're feeling and living and experiencing life with this person. So don't be guilty like I am of doing that. Try to listen before you're coming up with the next response. And be fully present where you are. Especially like you busy moms, one of the things that torments us is that we're never where we feel like we're supposed to be. If you're at work, you're thinking about the things that you have to do at home. If you're at home, you're thinking about the things that you didn't get done at work. And you're never fully present where you are. Make a decision this year that you're going to be intentionally present where you're at, fully engaged. That's why we end our day not feeling fulfilled. That's why we can be completely exhausted and feel like we didn't get anything done, is because we're never where we fully need to be. And so ask yourself, what moments in this week have stood out to you the most? What moments in this year so far have stood out to you the most? Are they moments or are they just minutes that you were getting through? All right, the next point is this: intentional living requires intentional shifts. I love the quote, things are never going to change if you don't change anything. And so we have to be intentional about our time, intentional about these moments. It takes intentional shifts. So ask yourself, what deserves the best of my energy? Not everything deserves your highest capacity. And it can change season to season. Sometimes it might be work that you're coming up against a deadline. That takes a little bit more for a given season that you're working in. Right now I have some deadlines coming up, so I'm taking some extra time and I am pushing towards that. But that's what needs to happen. That's what I need to be intentional about in this season. Other seasons, it is, family time. Obviously, they deserve the best of me. So I fully engaged when they're in the house. When you have small kids, it's easier. They're always around you. When you have teenagers, you have to maximize the moment because the moment will pass. They're either not in the mood to talk or they're not home. They're just busy. And so we have to say what deserves the best of my energy in that moment. What is speaking to my values, not just my responsibilities. That's so good. Write that down. What speaks to my values, not just my responsibilities. At the end of the year, not what is just moving the mark of my responsibilities and goals, what's moving the mark of my family values, how I want to feel, the relationships I want to cultivate through that year. Then design your days around what matters most. Your calendar is a great revealer of your priorities. What do I mean by that? I mean, in my calendar section, and if you have a Joie Miller planner, it'll give you space to think intentionally. That's why I love this planner, because it helps me to think the way I want to think. It'll create intentional moments for you to think, what do I want to inject in my month that is going to be an intentional connection. In my planner, I have on my weekly tasks to connect with each of my children. And that might sound so so basic, but I have adult children. I have daughter-in-laws. I have a granddaughter. So I want to do one thing to invest intentionally to create a moment with each of my children per week. That could be a text, that could be a FaceTime, that could be a funny thing, a joke that we share together. It's just to think about them during the day, to send them a text to let them know I'm thinking about them during the day. Maybe it's your spouse, and we can get really good at just being, co-workers in our home. We're just both keeping all of the ducks afloat. No, you say, I want to have a connection. I want to create a moment with my spouse today. Maybe that's a flirty text. Maybe that's buying them something sweet at the grocery store. How are you creating that moment? Make it part of your calendar to be intentional to do that. Design your calendar around what matters most in your life. If it matters, it needs scheduled and it needs protected. Next, create anchor moments. We did this going into the year. We sat down as a family. We said our value is family time. We want to maximize it. It goes so quickly. And one of the things that we used to do that we've gotten away from is to have a nightly family meal around the table. Now we're fasting in January. Our schedules look different. But going into February and beyond, we have gotten really accustomed to just eating. We have an island. Everyone just kind of comes and goes. It's like Grand Central Station. We still have some connection, but when the kids were little, we would all sit down around the table and we would have a meal together. And we said, let's go back to that. And so what is that? That's an anchor moment that I'm creating in my day. I'm not waiting for someone else to create it. I'm driving it because it's important to me. Create these anchor moments. Maybe it is connecting with your kids before bedtime. It's easy, right? You get busy, you get tired. You just want to go to bed. But remember those values that are important to you and say, I'm going to create an anchor. I'm going to check in before bedtime. I'm going to have these moments that are anchors in my week that I know I'm investing in the right things. And then create Sabbath rhythms, create rest rhythms in your week to create moments where you push your work away and you say, enough is enough for this week. I am just going to spend family time. I'm going to give myself permission to play with the kids. I'm going to give myself permission to go to bed and the family room's not reset. I'm just going to enjoy family time. So, thinking about why is this so hard? Why do we have to have a whole podcast on being intentional? It's because it is something that is contrary to life. It's contrary to how we're built. We just want to rush through in a lot of ways. And so it requires emotional energy. It requires something of us. And so I would really challenge you through this podcast, through this year, create moments rather than minutes. Do the work to invest emotionally, to invest with your time, to say, this year, I'm not just going to create my goals and habits around getting more done, which, yes, we need to do that. We need to be implementers of that which God's put on our heart. We have a purpose. God has plans for us this year. But I'm going to invest in what matters most in the realm of creating moments with my family, not letting another year go by that you don't go on the family vacation, that you don't do the fun thing for the season, but that you are creating moments together. And it doesn't have to be something crazy. It doesn't have to be a trip. It could be spending the afternoon in the backyard. It could be creating these moments that are greater than just the minutes we live. Life is created in the moments, not just the minutes. Well, spend some time, be intentional with your family. I want to hear how you're integrating your values into your schedule, into your habits. You are going to realize that not only are you getting more things done this year, but you're becoming the person that you love. You're creating the life that you love. I can't wait. Small steps, small intention, big moments. I'll talk to you soon on the Joie Miller podcast. Share this with somebody who you think would enjoy it this week.